So we are on problem number 2 in the review. You find the vertex because it's in standard form. You're going to use this little formula. What is the formula again, Yayan?
For
Finding the vertex in standard form. The x-coordinate equals
negative b divided by 2a.
negative b divided by 2a, which we did right here. It's 15 over 2 times 5, positive 15, because the b is negative, so the opposite of that would be positive 15 over 10, which is 3 halves. Then you find your y-coordinate by plugging 3 halves in for x and evaluating it. And we got 1.5, which is the same thing as 3 halves, comma 4.75. That's cut off there. The line of symmetry is always the x-coordinate of the vertex. So x equals 3 halves. And then what is the y-intercept when it's in standard form? Casey?
I don't know.
What?
Okay, this is
This
are you following along with me right now?
Not really.
Okay. Yes.
16.
16. It is the value of c. Okay. So so how about you do start following along?
Yep.
Okay. So it's the y-intercept is the c value and it's in standard form. So 0, 16, or if you just said 16, that's fine. All right. Okay, let me go back.
The cameras in the
Oh, gotcha. Let me know when you're done there. Where's order?
Should we have lunch after this class?
Lunch after this until 12:50. 7th period starts 12:50.
When does lunch start?
Well, this class is over at noon, so you have a longer lunch today.
Longer lunch. Go boys.
Essentially, well, so it's like a 5-minute passing period at afternoon. Lunch starts at 12:05 and goes until 12:45. But then you have 5 minutes to get to 7th period. It's like 50 minutes. It's 50 minutes, but it's like that includes passing times. Yeah, it is. Okay, so enjoy it, I guess. And if you want to come in here to get some help on this review, if you're really struggling, let me know and you can come on in and we'll go over things during lunch. Okay, so the next one, writing a quadratic equation with these given zeros. So if your zeros are x equals negative 5 and x equals 3, then the factor, this you guys is not super, it's not hard to do if you remember what to do, but it says in your notes right here, zeros. These are your zeros. If you're going to go from your zeros and write it as a factor, what you can do, this is one way to think about it. If x is equal to negative 5, we want to figure out what the factor was that made negative 5 make it equal 0. So if you just add 5 to both sides, that was the factor that we solved to get 0. So one of the factors is x plus 5. So your function, f of x, is going to have a factor of x plus 5. And how about for this one?
Wait, is this the one where we have the thing and we figure out what goes into 7? Like when you multiply it and then when you add it or whatever?
That's factoring. So
That's different. Okay.
yeah, we're figuring out what the factors were that gave us these answers for 0.
Got it.
So if you subtract 3 from both sides, x minus 3 was the factor that made 3 a 0. So this is going to be the other factor, x minus 3.
Yep.
And then it doesn't say that you have to write it in standard form, so this is fine. But if you FOIL it, then that's the standard form. So if I do say on the test, which I might, those are the kind of little changes that might happen. If it says write it in standard form, then you're going to FOIL this. X times x, which is x squared, minus 3x. Then the inside is plus 5x. And then we have minus 15. So these two combine to the 2x up there.
Is that a... Oh, is it 2x? 12.
So whatever your zeros are, you go x minus that value to get your factor. Comprende?
Yes.
Those shouldn't be really hard. And remember where to find it on here. knowing your notes can be really helpful. All right, this next one is what?
We're gonna be able to use that.
Yes, yes, you can use this sheet of notes on the test.
That's true.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what,
Uh,
I'm not a big fan of memorizing. I will let you guys use this sheet that you have, if you remember to bring it, and you can write additional information on here. Okay. But just this sheet, okay?
So writing smaller.
You can write small, but I will tell you, sometimes having too much information can be less helpful because then you can't find it. But it's not timed, so you don't have to rush. So Nathan, we're on number 4 in the review.
she gave it to us last period.
So,
I have that paper.
Yeah.
The notes.
so you're gonna multiply out 6x times negative 3x. And so you're foiling that. So you guys, anybody have any questions on that?
No.
Uh-oh. It's my last copy. How's that case?
What assignment?
Okay, you guys are all good with that? Multiplying it out? Yes or no? Because I want to spend time on questions you don't understand. I need to go make a copy.
No, I don't get it.
Okay, so you're going to FOIL. 6x times negative
Hey, at least he's
3x.
honest.
True.
6 times negative 3 is negative 18.
Okay.
X times x is x squared.
Okay.
So negative 18x squared for the first two. The outside is 6x times 4.
Which is-
Oh, okay, now I get it.
You
Yeah.
get so
24x?
plus 24x.
And then 8 times
Negative-
3x.
Negative 8 times negative 3. Watch your negatives.
would be positive.
Positive
6 or 24.
24x.
Yep.
You can use a calculator on this test, okay? So I might give you parts where you can't, but so if you're like, you can use calculators, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so 24x, and then the last two is a positive 4 times a negative 8, so it's negative 32. And you can add those two together, and you end up with negative 18x squared plus 48x minus 32. Okay, numbers 5, 6, and 7. Solve whichever way you want. For number 5, factoring is probably the easiest. So get to factor or use the quadratic formula, you need to get one side equal to 0.
This is for 2.4 part 1. Wait, no.
No, this is the review, the chapter review.
I don't have that. Why don't I have that?
I'll go make.
Thank you. Oh wait, no, I have the review chapter. Where did I go? Yeah, I don't got.
So what happened on that bathroom thing anyways?
Yeah, that's all we
so
heard.
while
right?
you're waiting for me to make the copies, can you guys just write down number 5 if you don't have your review? X squared plus 8x equals 9. Subtract the 9, factor it. Do numbers 5, 6, and 7 while I'm making some copies.
I was gone for that. So what exactly
That
happened?
wasn't what it was about.
The downstairs bathroom
Multiple
has been,
freshmen shit in it multiple times without flushing it.
Bro, why?
the downstairs bathroom has been, no, the boys' bathroom.
Oh, it's
has-
unlocked.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, it was locked for like going on a couple weeks now. Because there was like the turd. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, at least
There
people
was-
are shitting in the urine.
Turd in middle school that was up here at the high school. Where somebody blocked, like it was like a turd. But yeah,
Who thought that was a good idea?
Jack Waldron.
They're still trying to figure out who did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're questioning kids. They're gonna blame kids that know if they don't say anything.
Jay?
Yeah.
What's Emery saying?
What? Oh no, you ain't shit into it. Move up. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, shit.
We should.
We actually do that.
He could probably like some pretty fat logs. They're gonna need like a poop sample so you can make the biggest log. Alright.
Hey.
What is Emery saying?
I'm not talking to him.
Who are you talking to?
Called Lucifer number 2.
sounds like a girl.
No.
Oh.
It was a guy.
Remember the whole conversation we had?
A cute case. A cute case.
Interesting.
No.
Easy checker.
I didn't see. Yeah, that was two.
You can get off your phone and
I-
do these
I
problems.
don't have that paper.
Oh, I told you to write it down
Just
on a
write it
blank
down.
piece
Oh.
of paper.
Thank you.
Yes, you have only today to ask questions. This is stressing me out way more than anybody else, it seems. I don't want to stress you out. That's not my goal. But you guys are not being very proactive right now. Some of you.
Pencil and scribe.
Gosh. Seriously?
I'm
Okay, that's
sorry.
3 pencils today. Do not
How
forget
many
to
minutes
return
ago
them.
in class have we been?
I just got called off. Lost
There's
my pencil.
10 minutes of class left.
I lost my pencil now.
Here you go. So,
I thought we weren't supposed to throw stuff in class.
so do you guys have x plus 9, x minus 9? That's what it factors into. They have to these two have to multiply to x squared.
Yes.
These two have to multiply to negative 9, and they have to add to positive 8.
Well, that's
So-
okay. That's I was looking at it and I was trying to figure out because I thought that was for 6. It doesn't right above it, but it's for 5. That makes more sense. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna tell you this. You
Probably
have
need to dump it.
the factoring is usually the easiest. I have a lot of students who forget how to factor in the middle of like you're doing the test, you're like, what does it mean to factor? I will say put your parentheses in. So
Oh, yeah,
once you guys put those parentheses in, it seems like that something kicks in and you can do it.
Sometimes.
So just I'm gonna say put in your parentheses. That's what I'm talking about. Put 2 sets of parentheses like that. Okay, Ayla? All right. So then the next one factors into, you put your parentheses, x and factors of negative 10 that add to positive 3. So it's either 1 and 10. You're never going to get a 3 out of that, right?
Right.
But a 5 and a 2, you can get a 3. We want it to be negative 3, so it's minus 5 and plus 2. Then you're not done. Once you factor, you got to set each factor equal to 0.
So you plug it back into the.
So you set each factor to 0 and then solve it. What is...
It's just the opposite.
Yes, although if it ends up being a factor like this,
Yeah.
then you might want to write it out because it's gonna be a fraction. So x equals 5 for that factor and x equals negative 2 for that factor. The next one, you want to get everything on one side, and then I use the quadratic formula. Are you guys okay with the quadratic formula?
That's the really long one.
That's the one that
The
looks,
really long?
it looks like this.
The,
Negative b plus or minus b
oh,
squared minus
b
4ac.
squared.
All divided by 2a. You have to be really careful with how you do your order of operations and all of that stuff. But if you can you got to get everything on one side. So you add the 5x and add 3 to both sides to get 0 on one side. Then you plug all that into your quadratic formula, and you should get negative. I tried factoring; it didn't work. So not every one of these equations is factorable, but every one of them you can solve with the quadratic formula.
Can you make them all factorable on the test?
They will not all be factorable on the test necessarily. All right. So and remember, if you end up with a negative, so you end up with negative 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 7 divided by 2. If you have a negative underneath the square root, what does that involve, Yayan?